7 Days of Science Tune, Book 1 by Zinazakura. February 8th, Chapter 10. I Think of You. Dude! Rumble let go of his control in frustration. How do you keep beating me? People looked tastily at Rumble. I told you we started getting up on him first, you guys. Featherweight threw his controller down on the couch angrily. He's cheating. He's gotta be cheating. Setting down his controller, a white grin on his face, Spike put his arms behind his head, leaning back against the foot of the sofa and grinning. You guys are chump cheats, I swear! Celebrating his triumph, he reached over and grabbed a Coke, grinning. You guys just don't like getting schooled in Super Smash Bros., do ya? Oh, shut up, Spike! Featherweight groaned. Besides, just because you think you're hot stuff with Link does not mean you can't go keep beating us forever. Spike grinned. What bit? If I win, you guys are gonna seriously owe me some favors. Phil pulled down his friend. And if you lose, guess you guys, don't lose. But if I do, you owe me all the favors. Someone knocked on the door to the house. Hey, Sonny, Spike shouted. Your friends are here. Sunset poked her head out of the kitchen. Spike, can you answer the door? Busy cooking in here. I'm not supposed to answer the door. You know that, Spike shouted back. In the kitchen, Sunset groaned. He was right. He wasn't allowed to answer the door after he slammed it in one too many people's faces. At least with the princess's Spike, that was never going to be much of a problem for a dog. Heading over to the front door, she opened it, glad to see friendly faces. Hey, glad you guys could make it. Standing at the door was Fluttershy, Applejack, Rainbow, Pinky, and Rarity. You promised us nachos, Pinky chirped. And we come in search of nachos. That's a good way of saying it. That Pinky thought Blossomforth was okay enough to work on her own, Rainbow said. She is trying, Fluttershy said. I think she's still a bit sad that Cloudkicker moved to Detroit last week. They were close working day. Very much so, Rarity said. But since we introduced her to Minuet and Waterfire, she seems to have taken to them very well. Well, enough of that, Applejack said. Rainbow, let's get to raising your hair. Do we have to? Rainbow Athlete cared. Yes! The five other girls announced at once. An hour and several batches of nachos later. Girls still weren't having an easy time studying. Oh, come on, you guys! This shit is easy, Rainbow said. And I'm the stupid one here? Yeah, but you grew up with Spanish, Sunset reminded her as she turned back to her book. Fuck. This looks vaguely like Burronetso, but the princess never taught me that. Burro what? Applejack asked. Burronetso. It's the native language of the mules and donkeys, Sunset told her friends. Never really knew any of them, though. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around this, Sunset dear, Rarity said. I mean, we know you're an alien, but the fact that there are other species out there besides yours, it's rather disquieting. It's okay, Sunset said. It took me 4 years to get used to. Hey, Sonny! Spike shouted from the living room. Do we have any nachos left? Yeah, she called back. You get me and the guy some? Spike, I'm studying, she retorted. Get yourself. Yeah, but this is really important, the young boy shouted in return. Sunset face palmed. Why me? Why are you watching Spike this weekend anyways? Pinky asked. The flame-haired girl started taking out the reins on her fingers. Because my foster mother's in Salt Lake City for a social service worker symposium, my foster father is in Houston presenting a physics monograph before some bunch of self-important scientists, Katie and Shiny are too busy planning things for their wedding, Twilight's in Cloudsdale at the Regional Model UN Assembly, Tavi's with her parents in Seattle this weekend for some parent-child charity performance, and, since I didn't have to work this weekend, guess who's got stuck with the rut? Sunset groaned. Sonny! Sunset buried her face in the book. I'm too young to deal with children, I swear. Let me take care of it, Rarity said sympathetically. I think we can use the break anyway. Thanks, Rares, Sunset said wearily. Think nothing of it. I've had more than enough experience dealing with my sister's antics when she was 8. No argument there! Applejack, Rainbow, and Fluttershy all agreed in benefit unison. As the other girls chatted, Rarity went over, placed the chips down on a platter, and dumped copious amounts of condiments on the chips. It looked absolutely hideous, she thought to herself. There was really no way, in her opinion, to make nachos look good. But at least it tasted fair, even if Mexican food was not on her preferred palate. Bringing out the plate, Rarity placed it on the coffee table. Here you go, gentlemen. One not so, whatever. After a second, she caught was on the screen. Oh, Smash Brothers! I'm quite proficient from playing that with my sister at home. You'd be better than him, Rumble groaned, pointing at Spike as Rumble's character was kicked off the platform for the final time. Oh, I think I could do quite well, young man, Rarity said, amused at the situation. Apparently, young Spike was the video equivalent of the pole shark she read about so often in romance novels. Pip snored, struggling to keep his character in play. Spike's just too good at this game. Yeah, and there I go, Featherweight muttered, as his character and Pip's were swiped out at the same time. Spike grinned cockily. See? Tells you just can't miss at the best. Well, you shouldn't be so cocky, Rarity said. Your defense was open at points, and you left yourself open to a few counter-strikes. Yeah. Only a girl would say something like that, Spike said, reaching for the nachos. Excuse me. Rarity felt insulted. The kid was half her age and was acting, well, he reminded her a lot of that cretin she encountered last month. Thankfully, he was facing criminal charges now. Can't you repeat your words? Spike looked at her coolly. Sorry if I said anything rude. I didn't mean to. It's just that, well, girls really aren't that good at video games. That was it. Possibly one of your controllers, Steve demanded to the other boys as he sat down. Once she had said controller in hand, she immediately selected Zero Suit Samus. I'm going to make apologize for those words, Randy told him. Okay, since you insist, Spike laughed. Don't say I didn't warn you. Best of 3. Randy was already staring at the screen, laser-like focus in her eyes. It is on! Boom! Today's winner, Zero Suit Samus! Okay, you got lucky. Best of 5. Wham! No way I'm having a bad time. Best of 9! Spike stared in shock and dropped his controller. There, on the screen, read her stats. She hadn't lost a single bout since she picked up the controller. But hell! She grinned. My cousin Techno-Teeth is a professional video game player. Won the EVO Street Fighter 4 in Smash Bros. Tournaments of women's divisions for 4 years straight. A win, you have an opponent like that, win. She looked at the controllers of her gun and blew on the edge. It's talent. Rarity, we're getting ready again, Sunset called from the kitchen. The violet tress curl tossed the controller back to Pip. Let that be an answer to you, young sir. Never underestimate a lady. With that, she got backed up and went straight to the kitchen. Meanwhile, Pip, Rumble, and Featherweight were laughing at him. She got you good, Spike, Rumble crowd. Spike hadn't heard or ran into his friend as he watched the video game god saunter through the kitchen. His voice was gone. His heart seemed to skip a beat. Wow, was all he could finally voice. Suppose no matter what the reality. Is something wrong with Spike? Velvet asked the following day as he arrived from her airport. Her son was currently holding his blue Wii U Pro controller, sighing wistfully as he stared at the title screen of the game currently selecting, and nothing else. Hey, you guys remember the Wii U? I know, I'm shocked I remember it too. At the moment, Sunset was setting the table for dinner she made for the 3 of them, as neither Twilight nor Night would be home until later in the evening. He's been like that since one of my friends beat him repeatedly at Smash Brothers after something he said. Sunset then went on to explain everything that had happened, or at least as much as she knew, and by the time she was done, Sunset Velvet was doubled over from fits of laughter. Well, the matron said, wiping a tear from her left eye as she'd been laughing that hard. Normally I would ground him for being so rude, but sounds like he learned to play a valuable lesson the hard way. Most likely, Sunset agreed. She pulled the lasagna out of the oven. Anyway, dinner should be ready in a few minutes. If you want to put your bag away, get ready. Thanks, I appreciate it, Velvet grinned at her foster daughter. You know, I don't ever recall you being so domestic, Sonny. But you seem to have gotten used to it. I wish I could get Twilight or Tavi does this focus. Well, a wise woman once told me all you need to do is just love someone enough and show them there's a better way. Sunset said, flaunting herself with a smile. She ended up getting a huge hug out of her quote. Meanwhile, oblivious to the two women, Spike sighed, She beat me. I really practiced more, but hell, she... Until the controller again blushed. He couldn't explain why his face felt flushed, and he... Spike? He looked up at the sea Sunset staring at him. Hey, called you for dinner a few minutes ago. Oh, you did? He blinked. Sorry. Well, go wash your hands and join us at the table. We've been waiting for you. Oh, okay. He said reluctantly, putting down the controller. For some reason, before wandering out to the bathroom. Sunset watched him go, a strange look on her face. I swear, that kid. She then smiled at her softly. Kid or not, he was her little brother, of sorts. So he had to wonder what he was up to. Turning out the Wii TV, she then went back to the kitchen. Rarity, what did you do to Spike? Sunset asked her friend the next day at school. I only beat him at that game of his. Why did you ask? Because after you left, he started acting, well, weird. The flame-haired girl replied. You didn't do anything to him, did you? Of course not. He's just a child. Besides, if anything, losing to me should make him appreciate his friends more. It seemed as though to me he was being quite a bully to them because they weren't good at the game as he was. Yeah, well, that could be Spike at times. Always wants to look good. He's got the ego of a small plant. Twilight told me one time she was looking for a laptop since he didn't remember where she put it. When he found it, he referred to himself for a whole week as her number one assistant. Well, Rarity said, resting a delicate finger on her chin in thought. Hot tea intends to best me once more. I can see it now. You'll expect this weekend I'll come over and challenge him to humiliate him once more, and he'll show up, like just as a character from The Matrix, or equally rugged and cool, and demand a rematch. Then, like it's something out of a bad 90s film, he'll put a last-minute victory, and I'll be left broken and ruining the day I ever cross. Sunset stared at her friend as she gone insane. What are you talking about? Oh dear, I've forgotten you're not exactly up to speed on all the films. A thought came over Rarity's mind. You know, why don't we do a marathon over your place? I'm sure the girls and I can find a few older films you like. That'd be nice, Sunset replied. It would make me feel loads better about not having a clue what Star Wars or Star Trek is about. Rarity blinked. You mean, in all this time, you've never watched the series? Sunset blushed. I ran out to talk about it. Let me guess. Flash had you over to watch the movies on... Rarity then blushed herself as the inevitable conclusion to her thought process occurred. I see. Well, I assure you that the eight of us will just be watching movies. Maybe older food, that's about it. Just don't be surprised if Pinky suddenly mentions anything about the slumber party. Pinky seemed to teleport in from out of nowhere, surprising both girls. So what's a slumber party? Pinky's sudden squeak was high-pitched to make a few nearby dogs bark. Had any been on school campus. Well, Eddie said, one smile on her face. At least he wants to tune out. Speak for yourself, Sunset said, rubbing her ears. Note to self, human or not. Apparently my hearing is still in the pony range. Ow! If not, if not, if not, the girl stuck her tongue out and ran off. If not, Spike sighed, sinking angrily at Stinky D ran from his part of the playground. In retrospect, maybe it was the smartest thing in the world to ask her what was going on. Then again, girls were weird. Hey, Spike, what's going on, dude? Pip ran up to him, with Rumble and Featherweight toe. You're missing the most epic Pokemon trade-off ever. I scored me some really sweet ones. Oh yeah, sorry, he said. Kinda busy. Busy? Rumble groaned. Dude, busy was what we were. You were busy playing Kissy Face with Dinky. Spike narrowed. What are you talking about? Heh. Rumble selling keeps stuck in Thorium pose. Lured everyone on this one from that big brown thunder lane. Featherweight looked at Rumble oddly. Didn't your brother get suspended from school 2 weeks ago? No, that's our cousin Thunderclap. From what Lane said, totally deserved it too. Anyway, that's not the point. He focused on Spike. Thing is, Spike, you've got that friend of your sister's on your mind, don't ya? Well, yeah, she beats me. Of course I'm gonna think about it. I want to play her again. Beat her. Well, Rumble said, we'll make sure that happens. We're friends, right? He asked, looking at the other boys. Yeah, Pips agreed. Then next time she knows not to miss his Spike. Featherweight brushed the hair out of his eyes. Yep. Then after you beat her, Spike, then we're going to beat you. Spike laughed. Like that's never gonna happen. Rumble placed his hand in his air. Well, are we doing this or not? Spike placed his hand. You guys are the best friends ever. Let's do this! Pit was up next. Bet! We gotta come up with a cool name for our cup now. Featherweight played his hands last. Well, what about the Cutie Mark Crusaders? Here are three boys looked at him as he'd gone insane. You've been reading your sister's Philly Fantastic books again, haven't you? Spike asked him. Well, yeah, I had to read something for my last book report. Pit rolled his eyes. That's nothing about your brain, Feather. Anyway, we really gotta come up with a team name. Spike had some flashes of inspiration. What about the Button Masters? Perfect! Pip replied. Go Team Button Masters! The four boys shouted in unison. That's a wonderful idea, Velvet said over there, especially since Knight and I will be out of town this weekend. You will? Twilight asked. Yes, dear. Velvet immediately climbed up at her husband's brief glance. She almost said, did you forget it was Valentine's Day weekend? But given all recently happened, it had been an unspoken policy in the schools in the area to very much downplay Valentine's Day this year. And with both Twilight and Octavia seeing counselors for their near misses, Knight and Velvet admitted to themselves there were some reservations about their getaway visit to San Francisco, especially with Eating and Ballad also out of town for a pressing engagement they couldn't get themselves out of. Well, Sunset suggested things were looking up. Sunset immediately caught what was going on and decided to use some damage control. Yeah, the girls are insistent on me seeing a few movies I've never seen before, like Star Wars. You've never seen Star Wars? Everyone at the table asked, perplexed. Sunset blushed in embarrassment. Or Star Trek either. A lot of films, actually. Twilight said, well then, it's settled. Sonny, we have to get you to see some movies. She then turned to Velvet. Mom, can we? I was already going to say yes, Twilight, Velvet said. If your father's okay with it as well. Are you kidding? And look on Knight's face was economically silver. I cannot allow a person in this house to not understand why Empire is the best of the series. He looked at both teams. Twilight, I simply must insist you see the original trilogy first. Then, you can show her the prequels if you get around to the bad films. Well, I suppose that's settled then, Sunset said, as he turned to Spike and asked, guess you're going to spend a weekend over at a friend's place? Oh, completely forgotten about that, Velvet said, her attention previously taken up by Sunset admission of a gaping knowledge of cinematic pop culture. Spike, I can call Pip's mother to see if you can stay here for the weekend. Nah, Spike told her. Actually, I guess the guys will come over for an epic gaming session. Well, as long as they don't bother us or go into our rooms, I guess it won't be a problem, Twilight told her parents. I guess we should start making a list of what movies to watch, Sunset started. I'll call the girls, Twilight told her foster sister. Don't worry, we'll make sure that you've got plenty of time to watch the rest of the stuff. Okay, so we gotta have her watch all of Star Wars, then all of Star Trek, then we'll have time to watch all of the series as well. Oh, and then we gotta watch a few Disney films, then the Matrix trilogy. There was only one Matrix movie, Pinky. Then there's gotta be time for the classics, 16 Cancels, The Breakfast Club, and of course, several Monty Python. Pinky's mouth was covered by a very irritated Octavia. Pinky, we only have the weekend, not the whole month. Plus, I'm going to serve a lawyer. We're going to get a little shut-eye now and then. Ilchak added, trying not to laugh. Still, I can't get over the fact that Sunny hasn't seen a lot of the stuff we have. Twilight commented. I mean, I know she's an orphan, but some of the stuff that she's missed from the recent past, it's almost like she's from another world or something. It just caught up on past 4 years of pop culture. You don't say, Rarity said, the tone of her words somewhat odd, though Twilight didn't ask what she meant. Well, Fluttershy suggested, maybe her guardian was really strict about those kind of things.
I know my mother wasn't too happy with the violent movie Angels likes watching. Maybe Sunny's original guardian was even more, reluctant to let her watch anything.
Or maybe you'll have TVs over at Ponyland. Piggy chirped. Nancy gasped and realized she'd broken her sacred promise, while the others looked at her oddly. Thankfully, Twilight and Octavia misunderstood completely.
Pinky, I'm pretty sure they have TVs over in Ponyville. I mean, it's just 100 miles east of here, not Antarctica or something.
Octavia drawled.
Actually, I'm guessing they have TVs in Antarctica too, Twilight added flippantly. But did Sunny actually come from Ponyville? I mean, that's just the next county over. They definitely would have found her before 4 years. I would have thought she'd come from a bigger town like Cloudsdale or Portland, maybe Seattle, Frisco, or LA. You seem awfully curious about the past of the descendant, Twilight, Rarity inquired. She's family, Rarity. Shouldn't I be more worried about her? I mean, here's what you told us about her. Then there's...
There was a sudden loud boom, and all the girls looked at the drains and rain of gas, who was gross at whatever was on her phone screen. Rainbow, you mind joining us in the convo? Applejack added testily.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Just downloaded the latest ep of an anime I've been watching lately, Rainbow said sheepishly. And I had to make sure I downloaded correctly.
At that, Applejack rolled her eyes, while Fluttershy just shook her head.
Still, you were saying, Tiny?
Rarity asked for the other girl to continue.
No, she sighed. I guess it's not really important. She shook her head. I just want Sunny to have the same kind of life that Taffy and I have had. I'm sure you've had too, she commented. My brother and I were talking the other day, and he told me he was completely surprised she managed to live 4 years in the location she had, and that was objectively impressive, yeah, especially given her age. But what I still see, is that even though Sunny's opening up to us, she's still hiding something back. Was she abused or worse?
Funny, I think Aunt Velvet would have gotten that out of her by now, Octavia told her cousin. You really should let your mom handle that part. She's the one who does it for a living.
I know, but the look on Twilight's face was nearly heartbroken. I just want to help her.
We're doing that. Uncle Knight and Aunt Velvet are doing it the only way they can. And you and I and the others are doing it the only way we can.
Stop it, Bernie!
Piggy cheered happily, using the full power of her cheerleading vocal ability. The ear-deafening cry, which many of the cheerleaders referred to as the Royal Candlelight Voice. Royal being short for royally eardrum-shattering. 6 girls winced and suddenly used it before Fluttershy massaged her ringing ears.
Maybe a little quieter, Pinky?
She asked.
Sorry,
Pinky whispered, her cheeks turning rose from embarrassment.
You really haven't seen Star Wars?
Blossom asked. Sunset rolled her eyes.
Blossom, what does that have to do with me asking how your last checkup went?
She was now really beginning to regret having told anyone about the whole thing. The Floral Hound girl blushed.
Well, I'm still queasy now and then, and the doctor said I should be showing soon. She admitted, patting her belly briefly. I think now that my parents have adjusted to what's going on, they're looking forward to it. Especially Daddy, since he really wants to spoil the baby. And Flash?
When Blossom turned away, Sunset felt guilty.
Hey, look. You and the baby will be fine without that jerk, Sunset promised. It's probably not going to be easy. Just look at Fluttershy's mom if you want proof. I guarantee there will always be someone there for you. Really? Sunset nodded. You're covered, Blossom, I promise. Good. You get to be the baby's godmother then.
Blossom insisted.
Sure,
Sunset replied.
A second later, she asked, what's a godmother?
Okay, here's the answers to the math homework. Featherweight showed the guys. 4 members of Team Button Masters immediately copied the answers. Grin. Now, for the real homework. They were currently at Featherweight's house. As his father was the station manager for one of the TV stations in town, the house had a particularly incredible setup. That meant the largest Samsung-built MOTV possible, along with the entertainment systems to go for it.
Master!
Get your gear, Spike? Rumble asked. Behind him, Pip pulled out his most valuable treasure, the most recent and updated copy of Defector Fixin's Guide to Elite Combos, written by none other than Techno Tree herself. Opening to the Super Smash Bros. Wii U pages,
The shortest member of the four looked at Spike, determination in his eyes. You will study these moves. You will memorize and better than your own name. And you will win. You got that? Spike opened up his backpack in response, pulling out a small black case. Opening it, he reached in carefully and pulled out his masterpiece, the indicator that all bets would be off. His custom Wii U Pro controller, imported from Japan and designed to somewhat mimic the shape of the old Super Famicom control pad, a game system he wasn't familiar with. That hurt! That really hurt! But something that his dad spoke of fondly during gaming sessions was shining when the latter was Spike's age. The controller, a Christmas gift from Cadence, only saw action when Spike was determined to win at all costs. It was an artifact of pure power. And Rebel even commented once that when used, the custom controller gave Spike the power of a dragon, or a pirate, or, well, something really neat and cool. Reaching in and attaching the USB cable to both the controller and the console, Spike stretched slightly, and curled his hands around the edges of the controller. Green eyes aflame with eagerness. He selected online play and started challenging other players at some of the highest difficulties. His heart raced with battle-hardness. He would train for the next few days until Saturday. Then, when the time came, he would win. Oh yes, he would taste victory and savor its potency. So, you guys have everything under control, right? You have Shiny's number in case anything goes wrong, Velvet pointed out.
Twilight rolled her eyes.
Mom, we'll be fine, we promise. Don't worry, we have everything under control, Sunset assured. You two go have fun, and we'll try not to burn the house down. When Velvet gave her a side glance, the flame-haired girl grinned. Would I do that?
She said with a huge smile. Probably, if it means getting out of homework. Night jibed in response.
When Sunset shook her head in response, the man chuckled softly.
You girls aren't the only ones with senses of humor.
He told them both before returning to Twilight with,
Why, your mother and I involved him shortly after we climbed out the primordial swamp, rode dinosaurs to high school.
Once both teens looked down with disappointment, he tugged at his shirt collar, muttering, Tough crowd. Well, I still laugh at your jokes, dear, Velvet said, rough in her eyes. Before she added with a finishing blow, well, sometimes anyway. She then went and hugged the three children goodbye. Spike, as usual, scoring embarrassment as his mom kissed him on the cheek. You have our number in case anything goes wrong, right? You know, I think another thing I like about this fic?
The slice of life moments.
Don't worry, Twilight assured them. Satisfied everything was going to be fine, the parents went off. A few seconds later, the sound of Nightlight's car was heard as the parents drove off to the airport. Stepping away from the door, Twilight sighed. For a moment there, I thought they were going to change their minds. Nah, you know how they are, Twilight, Sunset said with a grin. You just worry about us, is all. And speaking concerns, she then looked at Spike. You still planning on staying over at Pitt's place tonight?
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, he told them.
Well, go ahead, and I'll get back and I'll walk you there. Then turning to Twilight. Guess everyone should be here soon? Twilight nodded. And as far as I know, AJ says he'd pick everyone and then head over. And Tavi will be here about 8. When her parents drop her off on the way to the airport. But she'll call before she gets here so she can order The blonde-haired girl was suddenly interrupted by a knock on the door. A staccato beat that sounded more like a drummer on amphetamines than a newcomer. I'm guessing that's Pinky, Twilight said as she cracked open the door. It was nearly bowled over by Pinky wearing a backpack which likely served as his clothing bag, carrying several large covered trays carrying a plethora of various confections. I'm sorry, whatever your name is because I can never remember it.
Spike, the boy grumbled.
Hey, Pinks, Sunset says she looked on in amazement at the sheer amount of baked goods Pinky had brought with her. You know that Pinky's well-known penchant for the epic sweet tooth? This is way too much. Need a hand with that?
I got 2 hands, don't need anymore.
You got in here, girl, turning a chair.
But you could point me towards the kitchen.
Right this way, Sunset said, as the mountain of pastries followed her. Meanwhile, Twilight waited as the rest of her friends arrived. Welcome all. One by one, the girls came in. Applejack brought a couple of cases of apple soda that Rainbow firstly addicted herself to. Rarity and Rainbow carried the girls' sleeping bags. Fluttershy carried in a bunch of DVDs and Blu-ray discs.
So, where should I put these?
Applejack asked. Twilight pointed. Sunny and Pinky are both in the kitchen. Girls, make yourselves at home. You've been here enough times, you know where everything is.
Thanks, Twilight,
Fluttershy said, citing a sizable collection.
Oh, I also brought some anime as well, just in case Sunny's interested.
Great. Here we go again, Rainbow grunted. Honestly, Fluttershy, I really don't want to read anime, okay?
But, Rainbow, watching it in the subtitle version lets you get all the nuances that the English voice actors can't explain. It's something that only Seiyu could project to the audience.
I'm not disagreeing. Oh, great. Because I really need you to get all weeboo on me, Flutters.
Be glad I didn't bring the raws.
Yeah, whatever, Miss Half Japanese.
Quarter Japanese.
The chiffon hair girl corrected.
Only my grandmother's from Japan.
I didn't know you were a quarter Japanese, Fluttershy. That's what I said.
Oh, yes. My maternal grandmother Kimono met my grandfather, trade winds, while he worked for a company overseas. They then got married and moved to Hawaii, where my mother was born before moving here to Grandpa's hometown of Caroline when Mom was 6. Boss had insisted on learning Japanese and all that goes with it. So, it's nice.
See that smile, a glass of Rainbow was pouring through the dish pile.
Besides, Rainbow tends to not complain whenever I'm scandalizing something for her, so...
She shrugged. Rainbow held a copy of some girly-looking thing. The cover was Japanese, and thus she couldn't read it. Do we have to watch this?
What's wrong with that?
Well, there's no action, really. The scene where the white-haired girl...
Subaru?
Yeah, anyway, Subaru. Anyway, she tells that guy she's going to love him forever. I mean, really? Spike at this point had tuned his sister out and her friends. He was going to have enough things on his mind until...
Excuse me.
Spike! He heard a familiar voice and suddenly felt fitting. His heart started thumping and felt tingling all over. And saw the girl who addressed him.
Spike, would you be an idea and help me move some of the furniture at the inn so I can make room for all our sleeping bags?
Rarity asked him. Part of him wanted to ignore her. She was the enemy after all. Plus, he had every intent of beating her tomorrow and regaining his title as the gaming champion of the house. But when he looked at her, strangely nothing seemed to matter. He couldn't figure out why, but somehow it made sense. Maybe it was that cootie stuff that Pip had mentioned. It sounded almost as serious as the flu.
Spike,
Rarity asked again. Oh, yeah, sorry, Spike said, looking momentarily baffled as to what was supposed to be doing. Whatever it was probably important. Spike! He turned to see Sunset standing there, looking at him irritably. I thought I told you to go pack, so I could walk you to Pip's place? But I'm already packed! He cried. That must was true. The moment he knew he was going to be staying over there, he made sure to have both his clothing and gaming gear ready to go at a moment's notice. Okay, let's get you going before you annoy your waifu any further, Sunset cried. Waifu? Spike asked while Rarity facepalmed. At that point, the jingle of keys could be heard in the door. A second later, Octavia walked in.
Hiya, I'm home.
Hey, Tavi, Sunset said, followed in short order by the rest of the girls. The girls are already here, so you can see. Twilight's in the kitchen with Pinky, and AJ's prepping the snacks, and everyone except me was going to help rearrange the furniture so we could lay down the sleeping bags. As for me, I was going to take Spike over to Pip's house since he's staying there overnight. Let me handle that, the raven-haired girl said. You ought to get some order at this little shindig, so you stay here, be lazy, and figure out which movies you're going to watch first, okay? So then looked at Spike. Grab your bags and we'll head out. As the two turned the corner and started walking down Meadowville Lane, Spike adjusted the straps on his bag. Though in truth, he wondered about that word Sunset had used. What did it mean? Hey, Tavi! Yes, Squirt? She asked as he carried his other bag. He insisted on carrying his gaming equipment. Because it's almost as important as my comic books, he told her. It was time for her. I got a question about a word. I noted and checked the dictionary, Octavia said, hid their disappointment. Like your cousins, she'd been instilled with the values that she didn't know what the word meant, so you had to look it up. Her uncle, being a scholar, had been adamant about it, and her aunt just as much so. And having it come in handy over the years is something she appreciated. Well, Sonny just mentioned it just before we were leaving, so I didn't really have time to look it up. Fair enough. She replied, What is it? What's a waifu? She said when your friend Rarity wasn't around, and I didn't really get it. Spike couldn't understand why. A second later, his cousin nearly collapsed on the sidewalk in a fit of side-splitting laughter. Sunset's eyes blinked open at 4 in the morning. Something had caught her attention, and that thing had been a grayish white light coming from the LED. She saw Fluttershy sitting there, watching a cartoon. It didn't look like anime, because the style was too weird. As for the other girls, they were all still asleep, sprawled out in a tangled mess of bodies that, Sunset shuddered, you know that everyone was still recovering from the horrors of the past few weeks. Does not let her mind go there, even if innocently. So instead, she settled at the Fluttershy and asked, "What are you watching?"
The Last Unicorn.
The chiffon-haired girl replied.
You probably wouldn't like it because, well, you know.
I think I could deal with the fictional treatment of unicorns here on Earth, Sunset replied quietly.
Well, if you're interested, I just started it. I can start from the beginning again if you like.
When Sunset nodded, Fluttershy restarted the video.
I used to watch it a lot when I was my brother's age, she said. Plus, my dad used to read me the storybook whenever he got a chance.
Fluttershy was hushed, quiet in the way she normally. A second later, she realized what she said and reacted with,
"Oh, I'm sorry. I miss his parents. Sonny, I didn't mean..."
"It's okay," Sunset replied. "I'm more than aware that I'm an orphan. Believe me, I'm not that offended." She looked at the screen. Though I am a little offended that they think we unicorns look like that. I mean, that's gotta be cocaine-thin supermodel stuff.
I don't think the author of the novel had you in mind when he created Almathea,
Fluttershy said with a smile. Yeah, but at least she was the last unicorn on Earth. I think it's fair to say I'm the only unicorn, Sunset says. She smiled briefly, though it disappeared as a recurring thought entered her mind. Though her nightmares had stopped months ago, the fact that she would forever be marked mare back in her homeworld unsettled her. Even with her intent to never return, the fact that Celestia could reach over to hurt her at any time frightened her.
Does that make you our unicorn?
Fluttershy teased, unaware of her friend's worries. Yeah, I'm the resident hornhead, friend and mascot rolled into one. She chuckled as the pair watched the movie together, relieved that Fluttershy changed the subject somewhat. A few more minutes, the pair watched the cartoon pass before Sunset finally voiced, "What made you decide to get up this early anyway?"
Just couldn't sleep, she replied. No particular reason, it just happens sometimes.
"I don't think I could eat another bite, Pinky," a stuffed Sunset told her friend the following morning. Around the table, the room were the others, all still in their relative sleepwear, which was convenient as they were all equally appreciating the prosperity courtesy of Pinky's commandeering the kitchen. It's the greatly best stuffed French toast they ever had. "Yup, I'm gonna have to do some extra hay-ons on Monday just to make up for this," a satiated Applejack yawned, barely able to lift a fork to her lips.
Oh dear, I'm going to need a diet after this, but it's so worth it,
squealed the happy Rarity. And the other girls gave the echoes of her friend's statements, all of them in agreement that these were the best breakfast confections they had in some time.
Oh, but what am I going to do with all the cookies I brought? Or the cakes, or the donuts, or the beignets? Sing! Are beignets actually donuts? Then there's the panini I was going to make this for lunch. Except that would be called panino, because panny is singular as far as I know. Isn't panino a weird word anyway? It's like something out of a spellbound book.
So began waving her arms around with rices while indicating panny, panino, and panu. Then she looked at Sunset in a wild smile and said,
Guess I get it wrong. How did you do it, Sonny?
She guessed again and said,
Damn it, I wasn't supposed to say anything, was I?
In response, Sunset merely face palm while the other girls in the know regarding Sunset's secret groaned at Pinky's latest flub. As for Twilight and Octavia, they really looked perplexed until Twilight said, Pinky, you do realize that Sunny's magic tricks were just prestidigitation, right? Not wanting to get into this further out of control, Sunset mattered. Let's just forget about that now, okay? Pinky said with a hit of gratitude, happy to be off the hook. So, what do we watch today? Rainbow asked. I'm all for watching something awesome like Independence Day, or something with a lot of guns blazing. Eyes guns on her fingers, saying, "Bang, bang, bang, motherfucker!" Yeah, Mrs. Gangster number 1, Octavia drawled. May I remind you, we're here for Sunny. C should be the one that chooses. Well, Sunny, what do you feel like watching? Twilight asked. Sunset reached for the tablet on the table and looked at the list Rarity had placed on there. Well, We watched the Star Wars trilogy, then The Matrix. Yeah, complete with Rainbow Anti-Lexi's Neo, Applejack teased. And her friend flipped her off in reply. The farm girl ignored that and continued. But the sequels ain't that great, so I suggest we skip them. Sure, I could go with that. What about Star... She was suddenly interrupted by the surprising opening of the front door. Well, she knew Spike had his own keys just in case. The fact that there was multiple footsteps sounding clearly indicated something weird was about to happen. Good morning, Spike! Twilight said, her voice chipper. Only because her little brother hadn't started twanging her nerves like an electric guitar yet. While Octavia and Sunset recognized something in his eyes and looked at each other, knowing something was about to happen. Hey, sis! Guys are here with me, because it's something important. He told her, his youthful seriousness etched on his face as he crossed his arms. Behind him, Pip, Rumble, and Featherweight all mimicked his pose. What am I hearing, Beat It? The four of them looking like the serious visit of A-Team, with his team backing up. A sly smile broke into the face of the 8-year-old boy. Thusly, accusing figure out his target, he bellowed, Rarity! I chose you to Super Smash Bros. Wii U! The room fell silent, briefly broken by a car driving down the street. Finally, a patch of snow fell off a branch on the tree by the front of the house, and that started things up again. Excuse me, Rarity asked him, looking directly at her challenger, raising a single brow, looking straight at him. Once she set her eyes on him, however, all sense was lost to the youth. His mind went blank. This beast went a whole hour working on, suddenly decided to take the next flight to the moon. He expected her to give up, or accepted his challenge. But the moment she looked down, it was like the world suddenly stopped existing. Save for he and she, his heart began to accelerate. He felt that weird tingling sensation again. Spike! He then suddenly felt himself sinking by rubble. Snap out of it! She's taking you out! She's... what? Spike asked, confused, and was pulled from his reverie. Waifu? Octavia asked Sunset, a grin coming to her face. Waifu. The flame-haired girl replied, one already on hers. Ladies, if you'll excuse me, Rarity said suddenly, while she got towards the right of the bathroom. She strode past the four boys, the three of which were staring at her in anger, save for Spike, who stood there, slack-jawed, eyes glazed, and clearly, to the older ones, smitten. Spike! Twilight said, somewhat shocked. We need to... But Twilight! Spike said, already to defend himself. So you embarrassed me in front of my friends! Yes, but from what I understood, you deserved it. Twilight? Sunset suggested, let me handle this, okay? When her foster sister looked at her curiously, she replied with, I just have a feeling about this. Trust me, okay? Of course, Sonny, was the response. Come on, Spike. We're going to talk in my room. Have your friends wait in your room, okay? Why? Because the girls are still in their pajamas and... You know what? Never mind. Just do it and meet me in my room in 5 minutes. Got that? 20 minutes later, she descended the stairs, headed back towards the kitchen. She threw on a sweatshirt and yoga pants. Her hair was still a mess from her bedhead. Rarity, not surprisingly, was still in the shower, and all the other girls had thrown clothing as well, though all of them looked equally as confused as to what was going on. Sonny, what is Spike up to? Do I need to ground him from until next month? Twilight asked as her foster sister entered the room. Sunset shook her head, a reluctant smile coming to her face. No, like every little kid that's ever lived, he suffered a mortal wound at the hands of the fair maiden Rarity. Now he seeks revenge. A trial of mortal combat, if you will. A duel between two virtual opponents in an electronic field of battle. Rainbow blinked. Someone want to translate that in English or Spanish for me? I don't speak ITAR, hipster. Abstract bumped her friend on her head. What's Sonny's saying is that Spike thinks he's been wronged by Rarity, wants a chance to get his licks in. Am I right? You could say that, Sunset replied.
Oh, poor guy,
Fireside said with some sympathy.
He must feel completely awful about having been embarrassed by Rarity in front of all of his friends. I can understand how he feels. The other day, Angel got into another fight at school because he had a few of his fellow students pick on him.
Fetus, I think there's a bit of difference between your brother standing up for himself against bullies and Spike not getting his comeuppance in front of his friends, Octavia replied. Your brother was probably in the right. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But Spike, from what Sunset said, got exactly what he deserved. I don't feel an ounce of sympathy for the situation right now. Regardless, he feels that Rarity wronged him, and he's burning for revenge, she said. The flame girl informed her friends. He's not going to be happy until he completely humiliates Rarity in front of Pip and the others. Well, I guess I'll just have to accept the challenge, Rarity says she walked to the kitchen. So she had a towel wrapped around her head to dry her hair. She wore a pearl gray shirt with a stylized diamond pattern on it, and Hello Kitty yoga pants as well. Enter the waifu, Octavia said, a hint of sneakering smile coming out to her face. Someday someone will have to explain to me what that means, Rarity stated. But as to our current dilemma, if young Spike feels that I have wronged him, then I suppose I shall have accompanied him, though I must admit I haven't been playing much Super Smash Bros. As of late. On what comes first? Oh, come on, Rarity, Pinky said. If anyone can do it, you can. Go, Rarity, go! Pinky started bouncing around the room so she was practicing a new cheerleading routine for her school. Rarity, Caesar! Okay, never mind that one. I do have other stuff. Not necessary, Pinky, Twilight told her. I'll have a talk with him. No, that's quite alright, Twilight dear, Rarity insisted. If he wishes his challenge, then a challenge he shall have. Oh, come on! Spike groaned at the top of his lungs. Of all the times for his Wii U to start malfunctioning, it had to be now. He repeatedly tapped the power button, hoping that somehow would solve all the issues. Behind him were the 3 other boys and 8 girls that had been assembled for this battle royale. Spike, don't do that. You'll just make it further, Octavia told him. She, like the other girls, had already grown tired of this irritating duo and their plans for sunset. Only Rarity, controller firmly in hand, looking more bemused than anything else, failed to register steam emotion. Stupid game! Why of all the times is it doing it now? He stopped mid-word, knowing that if he continued, it would be all over for him. One of his relatives would probably crown him just for that dang game! He pulled her eyes, hoping he didn't cast a pause. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to postpone the grand battle, huh? Applejack said, glad that this wasn't going to derail their plans for the weekend. Aww, a dejected Pinky in tone. I was hoping you see Rarity get into epic battle of epicness. Wait, I got an idea! They suddenly rushed upstairs. Then, a second later, carried what looked like to be an hourglass sheet of plastic. I always carry my Xbox 360 in case of Xbox 360 emergencies. With that, she went over to the TV, unplugged the Wii U, and started to hook up her system. Pinky, when did you start to bring that? Spike started to ask. It's Pinky! The 8 girl said without hesitating. Yeah, Pinky said to Spike, handing him a controller. It was a custom bright baked shade of blue, and had baby blue and butter yellow balloon shade out festoon all over it. This matched the butter yellow controller Pinky had passed to Rarity, and both tied to the bright pink Xbox 360. Pinks, Rainbow pointed out. The Xbox is a Microsoft gig. Super Smash Bros. Is Nintendo. Pinky giggled. I know that's silly. Well, unless you got one hell of a model in that case, I got no idea what you're up to. Whee! Pinky answered, finger firmly on her chin, stretching out the last syllable for all it was worth. You know Spike's good enough to be his friends at Super Smash Bros. And Rarity's better, so it wouldn't really be fair for us to see any chance that you're good or not. Because Spike's probably practiced, and I know Rarity had a heavy week. So... She reached into her pocket, pulling out a small pink stick and flicked the button on top. The stick turned out to be a remote control for her Xbox, which switched on immediately. Once a few more responses such as remote control, she brought up Xbox Live Arcade and selected the games she wanted. Skullgirls, Spike asked. Never played it. However, for Natalia, he sounded both intrigued and dejected. Ooh, I always wanted to try this, Rarity cooed, flexing her fingers slightly and wrapping around the control in a rhythmic motion. Well, better get going, Pinky shouted joyfully. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not ladies and gentlemen to be eventually, we bring you the finest fighting extravaganza! In the blue corner weighing in, I don't know, maybe 60 years, pounds or so, we give you Spike! At that, the boys started cheering and shouting. And over in yellow corner, weighing in about 100, Pinky! Rarity Moss, it's not polite to discuss the way these things in public. Whatever. Pinky continued. Anyway, woo! The announcer's grin still a plaster on her face. She briefly borrowed Rarity's controller and saved to first mode. Okay, combatants, here's the deal. 3 on 3. Best out of 5 takes the trophy. Got it? That's a trophy? Spike and Rarity asked at the same time, confused. Well, duh.
I do have a lot of cake and cookies and pastries and eclairs and donuts and empanadas and all that other stuff we still have to eat. Let's get some big slice of that Gatelle I brought.
What's a chocolate cake? Twilight responded. That works for me, Spike said. I saw his sudden determination. I'm gonna take that cake and prove I'm the best. As Pinky finished the setup, both combatants started selecting their characters. Spike, in particular, was not happy in the roster. Where's all the guy characters?
That's Spike,
Rarity said without removing her eyes from the screen.
There is a reason the game is called Skull Girls, after all.
After a couple of minutes, the two team rosters were set. Spike had chosen Big Band, Beowulf, and Realm of Fortune. The first two because they were men, and the last because he was a robot, and robots are definitely cool. Rarity, on the other hand, had a bit more time to go through the other characters, finally deciding on a trio of Parasol, chosen with the saffron pink hair color and butter yellow dress, just to tease Fluttershy. Valentine for the ninja look, and Eliza, the last one chosen because Rarity thought there'd be something interesting about the design.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Piggy sang along with the built-in announcer. It's showtime! Both Spike and Rarity let their fingers fly at the point, setting the two combatants against one another. Projectiles and fists flew, rocking against one another, sending virtual opponents bouncing all over the jazz-like sets. Orange yellow health bars began to shrink rapidly as combatants clashed and beat each other silly in a fugue of war. The room fell silent. The eyes of the other 10 bystanders caught by the enchantment of a young woman and boy throwing down against one another. The battle of sexes come about in a new digital manner. Blue and green eyes locked into the screen, refusing to yell as the battle raged back and forth, both combatants learning the moves and continuing to fight while on the fly. Since Pinky explained the gameplay was like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, learning the battle of rhythm had been fairly fast, and neither giving ground. Round 1 was a close win by Rarity. Round 2, Spike won nearly perfectly. Rarity retaliated in round 3 with a perfect, and the two went back and forth, like a pair of mad Wimbledon struggle. A variety of eye colors were glued to the screen as the action continued. 5 rounds became 7, became 9, became 11, became 13. The battle went on for hours on end, with the two players showing no signs of stopping. Finally, 5 hours later, a well-placed drop kick for what Rarity had mentally referred to as Fluttersol slammed Big Band to the ground, drawing a narrow win. As Spike was about to call for another round, his controller started to red ring and sputter out as the batteries of the wireless unit finally gave their last. A collective sigh uttered from the group. Rarity stood, worn, hungry, and parched, but victorious. Gently setting down the sweat-glistening controller, she nursed a red thumb that little he was going to be displaying a blister soon. "It is done," she said, and oddly pleased, despite the stinging sensation she felt in the wounded distant. "Wait, I'll get more batteries!" Spike said, frantic. He couldn't lose. Not like this. Not to her. "I can't prove myself if I lose." "Spike," Twilight said, placing a hand on her brother's shoulder. "I think you're done. You've done nothing but play games for the past few hours. Took up a lot of time you should be spending with your friends. Furthermore, this weekend was for me, Taffy, and the girls to show Sunny some movies she hadn't seen before. Now we're going to have to skip a few." "But Twilight, She shook her head. "Spike, you and your friends can head up to your room to game there for the rest of the day. But the rest of us should get back to our plans for the weekend, okay?" Spike practically felt something in his heart snap. He lost face, not only in front of his friends, but in front of Rarity. It continued to make him feel very weird as he turned away from him, while Firefly started to bandage her friend's fingers, saying something that seemed so fuzzed out that the young boy couldn't quite comprehend. He couldn't comprehend much of anything anymore, not when his heart was shattering. Spike sat in his darkened room. A glance at the clock some time ago told him it was past 8 o'clock, but he didn't care. His friends departed shortly after the war, and why not? After all, he was still a loser. "Maybe I can hide here forever," he thought. "Maybe if I stay here, Mom and Dad will forget about me, so they won't have to worry about me going to school, and I get to stay here for the rest of my life." Unfortunately, him being forgotten about wasn't likely to happen. There was a sudden knock on his door, followed by Sunset's voice. "Hey, Spike, I brought you some dinner." "Go away, don't let me," he said, hoping she'd leave. He was actually starving, and he ate his emergency stash of candy he had in the room already. But he couldn't face anyone right now. Perhaps never again. Not asking again, Sunset opened the door, carrying a plate with a couple of pizzas and a can of Coke. "Hey, we tried calling you for dinner, but you weren't answering. Twilight wanted to talk to you about today." "No!" he pled. thought I'd be a better person to talk to you, the flame-haired girl offered, setting the food and drink on his desk. As he did, she turned away from him with Tisk in response. Spike, talk to me, Kay. I really don't want to, he said in response, though his tone wasn't oblivious or anger. It was just someone wanting to be left alone. Hey, don't do that to me, she told him, raising over to gently muss his hair. You're not in trouble or anything, okay? Promise? Squirt, I'm older than Tavi or Twilight, so I get a few things you don't grasp. She told him, of course, if you actually knew how old I really am, you'd probably freak. But no, I'm not going to tell anyone. She reached over, grabbed his food and drink and said, why don't you muttonize while you tell me what's going on, okay? It looked as though she was going to skip dinner, till his stomach growled. She laughed, saying, okay, Spike, I think we're done with pretending not to be hungry. Just eat something, please. She sat patiently while he practically scarfed down the first slice. Finally, he turned to her and said, look, Rarity beat me, okay? I want to beat her back, to prove I still got my gaming skills. Spike, you game all the time. She doesn't. And you held her to a near standstill for hours on a game neither of you played before. She told him while he ate the rest of his dinner, I don't know about you, but to me that says awesome game skills. I'm not sure where you're going with that. Some smile that came to her face as she had, unless there's something else. Yeah, he admitted. Not sure how to explain it though. It's just that when I look at her, I feel kind of funny. Funny? Yeah, he said with a soft smile on his face. I know it sounds kind of weird, but kind of reminds me when Mom and Dad are kissing. Blah. She reached over and mussed his hair, laughing at the fact he didn't realize what was changing in his life. Spike, don't ever change, okay? But anyways, I think you owe everyone an apology. Why? Well, all of them are going to say you owe me an apology for ruining my weekend. But I don't care about that. I think you do owe the others an apology for interrupting their plans. After all, against your friends he'll be planning for this stunt. But the girls made their plans for our weekend for quite some time now, and it's not fair to them. He shook his head in agreement. Maybe you're right. Trust me, I am. As realization started to sink in, she then added, I think you owe your friends an apology as well. They helped you with all this, and you let them down. Not because you didn't win, but because you didn't accept losing gracefully. Not everyone gets to win all the time. Some people lose, Spike, and they lose badly. Trust me on this. I'm an expert at losing really bad. But my friends will hate me, and Rarity... Pip and the others won't hate you. I guarantee. And if you apologize to Rarity, I know she'll think better of you for it. You really think so? I know so, Spike. You know, the problem is, this whole entire thing has the best Spike representation over anything Reality Check wrote. He stood on his feet, but continued to look at the girls as he spoke. And I'm sorry for acting like a brat. I'm hoping you all can forgive me. Spike, I'm very proud of you. So I said, beaming. It takes a lot for someone to admit when they're wrong. And I'm glad you did that. I gave a grain of approval as well. You did good, Squat, she told him. So the other girls chimed in with their own words of agreement as well. Sunset placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. She stood behind him. See? Tells you everything will work out. Yeah, you're right. But then he went up to Rarity and said, Rarity, I owe you an apology in specific. Specific, Twilight corrected. Yeah, that. Anyway, I owe you that because I said you couldn't play as good as a guy. That's not true. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Rarity smiled softly. That's very much of you, young sir. I accept your apology. Well, if that's that, I guess I'm going to bed, he said, yawning. To go apologize to my friends tomorrow. That's okay, Twilight. Sure, Twilight said. I already invited them all over tomorrow to watch more movies with us, so you can talk with them there when you get here, okay? Really? Spike asked. Twilight did nod, eyes a little relief. That's great, Twilight. Thanks. Don't thank me, she told him. Thank Rarity. It was her idea. Think nothing of it, Spike, Rarity answered before he could say anything else. If anything, think of it as my apology to you for embarrassing you in front of your friends. I may be good at games, but I'm older, and should have been the more mature one in this ruckus. So I completely apologize for my behavior, and hope you can forgive me. Well, okay. Thank you, Spike. So as she stood up, walked over to him, bending down, kissed him on the forehead. You'll be a gentleman amongst gentlemen when you reach the proper age, I can tell. Light, Sunset, and Octavia at the point spectacly playing cooties, trying to wipe his forehead. Something, anything. Instead, he sighed, and with a glazed look on his face, practically waltzed up the stairs towards his bedroom. Where she stood, Applejack chuckled. Looks like you got yourself a bow, Wares, she teased.
Rarity shrugged idly. C'est pas un bébé.
She replied simply.